सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So I will start doing summary, and we'll see wherever you can add, but I think the summary that Kopaliji gave me, it pretty much covers the whole Mundaka Upanishad, what I am going to unfold. What I'm going to summarize. So we'll start with how Swamiji presented in the last retreat. I don't have my notes from the audio recording, which you guys had also listened from the previous recordings. So you are free to add anything. So basically, we start with the basics. What is the Upanishad talking about? Why study Upanishad? And Swamiji started with making us recognize that there is some problem in our life, and making us see what is that problem? Why is that a problem? And then looking into the solution. So the basics, that self non-acceptance is the basic problem that everybody faces. How do I know that I'm not accepting myself? Because I desire something or the other every once in a while. And that desire itself indicates that I'm not accepting myself as I am. I'm not just comfortable with myself as I am. So that shows self non-acceptance. That's a basic problem. That's why we go after things. That's why we go after happiness. That's why we find ourselves in the position as we are right now. So why is this self non-acceptance of a problem, or why are we in this situation? Because we are a self-conscious being. Animals do not have that problem. We are very conscious of ourselves, and so we are constantly looking at ourselves through the viewpoint of this body mind sense complex. So that's a problem. This is the reason why there's a problem, self-consciousness, because we are very evolved beings. That's how Swamiji points out. So what is the solution? Knowledge is the solution. So somewhere Swamiji points out in the unfolding that we are making an error. Self non-acceptance is a problem because we don't understand ourselves properly. We don't understand ourselves correctly. We are wrongly identifying ourselves as incomplete and therefore not able to accept ourselves. And so the solution to the problem is to correctly recognize ourselves, that indeed what I take myself to be, that's not how I am. I am actually complete. I am actually limitless. So this is what any Upanishad wants to unfold. So also this Upanishad begins to unfold this. And what is the prakriya used here? It is Adhyarop Adhishtan. By that prakriya, Upanishad makes us see Satya Mithya. There is a Vivek, as we learned in Tattva Bodh, three kind of Vivek, like Atma, Anatma Vivek, Satya with Jagat and myself. With Jagat, what kind of Vivek do I have to do? Satya Mithya. With respect to myself, I have to do Atma Anatma Vivek. With respect to Jagat, I have to do Satya Mithya Vivek. So also this Upanishad makes us do that Satya Mithya Vivek through this Adhisthana, Adhyarop, Prakriya, and through various ways. We have what 3 adhyaya, and so basically in 3 adhyaya, and in all of those adhyaya, Upanishad introduces new ways, different ways of reviewing ourselves. How can I think myself correctly as non-dual? How can I think? In what way can I think? And different times, different examples are presented, as Pungoji mentioned yesterday, Dvasuparna, then the example of fire and spark. So there are different examples given. And then lastly, the means to the knowledge, that, okay, this knowledge is fine, but I am still not able to abide in it. I'm able to understand it, but I'm not able to abide in it. Then for the sadhana for knowledge, gnanam, are also given as satyam, tapa, etc. So this is the basic structure of how Mundaka Upanishad presents the truth. So with that, let's go into some details. So I'm just going to uh, go with some of the notes that I listed uh, from my retreat, and then we'll go from there. So again, the purpose of any Upanishad is to reveal myself as non-dual, limitless Brahman, that I am Brahman, that there is only one reality. That is the only purpose of any Upanishad, and that is also the purpose of Tatparya of this Mundaka Upanishad. So Swamiji made us understand that self non-acceptance is the main problem of human life. And this is because we are committing an error. So we have to recognize this error as error, and we have to correct it by seeing ourselves correctly. How? As the Shruti presents. So Shruti is the Pramana. So we follow the Pramana. Just as we follow the eyes to see the color, so also we follow the Shruti Pramana to understand our true nature. And when does Shruti become Pramana? When it is unfolded Guru Mukhena. But when it is unfolded by the Guru, through the Guru, because Guru has understood it, assimilated it, and only the Guru can point out to us what is our where we are making an error and how we should be looking at ourselves. So the Shruti through the Guru becomes the Pramana. And what is required for this knowledge? So Swamiji pointed out that a prepared mind is very important for this knowledge. And what does prepared mind involve? Yes, the sadhan chatushtay sampatti, viveka vairagya, samadhi shatka sampatti, and mumukshutvam. But of all those also, the Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti Swamiji emphasized a lot, because that is what makes our emotional composition. And largely we find that we are able to understand it intellectually, but when it comes to operating on the social level, on interactive level, we find it difficult. And that's where the Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti it comes into play. So we have to work on it until this Gnanam happens, until this true nature is recognized, and until we start abiding in it. So with the selected verses of the Mundaka Upanishad, the Upanishad starts with praising Brahma Vidya. It starts with praising the Sampradaya, how this teaching has been passed on from one guru to the Shishya, from the Shishya to another Shishya. So that Sampradaya is being praised, and the prayojan behind praising that Sampradaya is praising this Brahma Vidya. So the question is, what is Brahma Vidya? So I think we looked into this in one of our satsang questions. What is this Brahma Vidya? So Swamiji beautifully explained it. It is the basis of all the knowledge. It is the basis of all other knowledge, and it is the fundamental truth that everyone is looking for. It is the desire behind all desires. That's how Swamiji puts this is that fundamental truth. It's a knowledge of Paramatma which is unconditionally big. The truth not opposed to anything. And it's the reality which transcends everything, and yet it is pervading everything. Like Swamiji gave the example of actor and beggar. Like the actor is pervading all the roles, and yet the actor transcends all the roles. The actor is not limited to a particular role. So, Brahma Vidya is the absolute truth. It is not a standpoint. It includes everything, and it is that which gives us the ultimate satisfaction. And so, in that first mantra that is selected in the Mundakopanisad, the Upanishad describes the whole parampara where people followed this Brahma Vidya, where people devoted themselves to this life of Brahma Vidya. So the question arises, okay, so what is this Brahma Vidya? So then the proposition, the next mantra, next selected verse discusses the proposition. That Shishya asked to the Guru that I've heard that by knowing something, that there is something, that there is one thing knowing which everything becomes known, and I'm interested to know that one thing. So what is it knowing which everything becomes known, or as everything becomes as well known? And Swamiji beautifully presented this in the retreat. That how should I understand this question? Unless this question is understood, unless this question becomes mine, I cannot understand the seriousness of the question, and I cannot gain as much from the solution that the Upanishad is giving me. So that's why we try to dwell on this question a bit, so that this question actually should become my question. When I am approaching the Upanishad, this question should become my question. So what is it knowing which everything becomes as well known? When this question is asked, what does it amount to? It means, what is it knowing which I will be comfortable in relating with anything in the world? This is what it amounts to. But there is one thing knowing which I will be comfortable with myself. And what is that one thing? Is that one thing a subject, or is it an object? Is that one thing an object? Am I going to see it as some other entity like a pen or pencil? Or is it the subject like the seer of the pen or pencil? Is it one of these? Or is this the underlying reality of both the subject and object? So, lot of thing is buried in this question. Is it the reality of both the subject or object? Is it the reality of both drishya and drishta? What is this reality? And then the Upanishad unfolds that this reality is what? Purushaha eva idam sarvam vishwam. This one who is residing in this body, which pervades this body, that Purusha itself, is this entire Jagata, is this entire Vishwa. So this one non-dual reality is presented in this way, that what you see as duality is not the reality. One alone is appearing as many. Adhishtana Adhyaropa. So one alone appears as many. When can this change in cognition happen? Because this is all about change in cognition, right? Like we understand it. But when I see all of you, do I see one reality as appearing as many, or do I still see many? Lalit Bhai, Rachita ji, Kopali ji, how do I perceive it? I still see many. So there needs to be some change in me that has to happen, and it shouldn't remain an academic knowledge. So what is that change? And Swamiji presented in the Upanishad, he unfolded that when I drop my subjectivity, when I drop my raga dvesha towards how things should be, etc., then I will be able to appreciate thing as it is. Then I'll be able to appreciate the reality. So this dropping the subjectivity is our purushartha. This is what we have to strive for. As we continue to study these Upanishads, we have to continuously strive for dropping this subjectivity. Then this intellectual understanding will translate in our life, will be able to assimilate it, and it will reflect at emotional level through our interactions. So, so saying this, Upanishad employs different ways to present this one truth, how one appears as many. This is a fundamental surah, Shruti, that one appears as many. This truth itself is unfolded throughout the Upanishad through various examples. And this, when one knows oneself like this, what happens? Palashruti, last mantra of the Upanishad. What does it say? When one knows oneself in this way, then one becomes Brahman. Knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. What does that mean? Does he actually become Brahman? No, he is Brahman. He recognizes himself as Brahman. Like the 10th man story, he was always the 10th man. He wrongly identified himself as not being the 10th man. So now he correctly identifies himself as 10th man. So that is what knower of Brahman becomes Brahman means. So this is what Mundakopanisad is about. Now again going into some further detail. So our main prakriya here is, as I said, Adhyaropa Apavad, where Adhishthana, what is Adhishthana? Adhishthana is the Karanam. And what is the Adhyas or Adhyastha? It is the Karyam, effect. So Karyam is Mithya, Karanam is Satya. This is the technique, or this is the methodology employed by the Upanishad. So in the 1-4, Dve Vidye Veditavye, that is being said, right? Tasmai sahovacha Dve Vidye Veditavye iti hasma. So Paracha or Paracha, what is that? Dve Vidye. This question is asked, and the Upanishad says, instead of responding to the question, it straight away says that two knowledge has to be known. Why not straight away go to to my fundamental question that I've asked for? But no, Upanishad sees the need to understand both the Vidya and so what are those two knowledge? Two knowledge has to be known, Paracha, Aparacha, or Satya and Mithya. In your life, constantly what we are confronting is Satya and Mithya. Even in what I call Prachi, I am confronting something that is not real and something that is real. So in anything, when I'm perceiving, when I'm experiencing, I need to understand what is that Mithya and what is that Satya. Unless I know that, I will not be able to interact in the world properly. So both this knowledge has to be known. And so the Upanishad goes at length to make us understand that Apara Vidya first, because unless we understand what is not real or less real as less real, we will not be able to focus our attention to what is more real. Right? Satya and Mithya can also be understood as more real or ultimate real and less real. Because what we call Mithya, we tend to give reality in our vyavahara, meaning right now, this is the reality for us. Right now that I am able to see, that I see all of you as different, is the vyavaharik reality. Even though in cognitively I know that one only appears as many, unless I am that wise person, unless I continue till the time that I continue to see all of you as different from me, that Vyavaharik Jagat is real for me. So it is real, but it is not the ultimate reality. So only when I recognize something is without any value, then you can forget it. Then I can forget it. So question is, I am dealing with this Vyavaharik Jagat. When can I drop my subjectivity towards it? Only when I recognize that value, that there is something more important. Drop the names and forms. Drop your conclusions and notions and expectations of how a thing should be, and then you can appreciate the reality of the thing. So for not getting with the samsara, we should know what samsara is. We should have proper attitude towards the samsara. And so we have to develop vairagya. That the world cannot add anything, neither can world take away anything from me. And this is the prayojanam of presenting that apara vidya in the Upanishad, that we need to recognize what is apara vidya, then we can develop vairagya. Unless we recognize what is apara vidya, what is samsara, and unless we recognize the limitation of those of all those experiences, samsara is what? So essentially amounts to all of our experiences. So unless we recognize the limitation of that, we will continue to dwell in samsara and will continue to be deluded by it, will continue to be distracted from the fundamental truth we are after. So you can get rid of apara only when you have understood it. Otherwise, they won't get rid of it. Like that bear story. How a person, he was feeling very cold and he jumped into the river. He saw a blanket and he wanted to catch the blanket. He caught the blanket, but then he continued to being swept in the current. And his friend said, "Hey, give up that blanket. You are being swept away in the current." And then he yells back, "Hey, it's not me that is holding on to this blanket. This blanket, this bear, it was not a blanket, it was a bear. This bear is not leaving me." So also we are in this samsara and we are holding on to the samsara like the blanket, but the samsara is like this bear. It is not, the samsara has uh, uh, put hold on us. So we have to recognize things as it is, and then only we'll develop this vairagya. So giving up world. What does giving up world? What does giving up samsara mean? Is it any physical giving up? No. Swamiji emphasizes this a lot. Just means giving up raga and dvesha. So knowing universe implies I become free from raga dvesha, and then only I can focus on paravidya. So we have to outgrow value for things. In this way only we can give up raga dvesha and make ourselves available for this satya mithya viveka. Right? So then 1-7. Okay, I jumped. So 1-7, the example that Gopali ji liked a lot. So what in that example, what is being discussed, or what is the tatparya? Brahman is presented as the cause of creation. Right? So what is it knowing which everything is known? This is the question. So there is one thing knowing which everything will be known. What is that? Param Brahma, Akshara. Akshara is presented, Akshara Brahma is presented as the Jagat Karanam. So, unfolding what is Karanam, Swamiji said, in any cause can be looked as Upadana Karan and Nimitta Karana, or material cause and efficient cause. So there are two kind of cause, material cause and efficient cause, out of which the efficient cause is a conscious being, and generally material cause is something insentient. But here is a peculiar case where Brahman is presented as both the material cause and the efficient cause. It is the Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam. The efficient cause itself here is the material cause. And this amounts to saying that Brahman is actually the Vivarta Upadana Karana. It is not a Parinami Upadana Karana. It is a Vivarta Upadana Karanam. Why? Because otherwise we see that material always changes. Like the milk changes into curd, we always find the material changing. But here, it is not that Brahman has become something, giving up its Brahmatvam. Brahman remaining Brahma appears as many, and that's why it is Vivarta Upadana Karanam. So the examples, three examples are given here. The purpose of three examples is that we are prone to looking creation in a certain way, that and to break all those notions in our mind, three examples are given. So Upanishad wants us to break that notion, wrong conclusion in our mind, and gives us exception to all those usual notions. So Brahman is the Vivarta Upadan Karan, Jagat is the projection upon Brahman. What is the basic principle here? That you cannot know something. Okay, so this is the second point. So Brahman is the Vivarta Upadana Karana. Fine, but is Brahman separate from me? Like, is it like that picture that the movie that I see is on the movie screen. So movie screen is separate from the picture. So am I supposed to look out there like that movie screen? Is Brahman out there? So that's another question, right? Okay, I'm able to accept that Brahman is Vivarta Upadana Karanan, but is it out there? So again, this basic principle is brought, that if there is one thing knowing which everything can be known, it cannot be other than you. It cannot be separate from you. The basic principle is you cannot know something that is separate from you. Ishvara is non-separate from me, then I can know Ishvara. When can I know Brahman? When that Brahman is non-separate from me. So for Ishvara to be omniscient, I have to be non-separate from Ishvara. And this explains the relation between universe and Ishvara. Only when I understand this, then we can understand non-duality. Only when this is the case, then non-duality is possible. Otherwise, Brahman will remain separate, I will remain separate, then we don't have non-duality. So this explains the relationship between universe and Ishvara. And only then we can have non-duality, when Ishvara is both maker and material. And not only that, Ishvara is not different from me. I alone, or one reality alone, is appearing as both this Jiva and Ishvara. Only when this is the case, then non-duality can be explained. If creator and creation are different, then even if I know the material cause, even if you know the material cause, you will not know the creator. Therefore, maker and material cannot be different. One thing. And if by knowing one thing you can know everything, it cannot exclude you. the conscious entity, right? So the three examples are given here of spider, earth, and vegetation, and the third one. So why are they given? That how maker and material can be same entity. Usually we find maker and material separate, like pot and pot maker. But no, like in a spider, we find maker and material to be the same entity. So also in the case of Brahman, the creator and creation, same entity. Then effect doesn't stand apart from cause. For that, the example is given that earth and vegetation. How from uh, uh, so there is no duality between effect and cause. I always get confused between this and the next example, because one example is for how, so this is how effect doesn't stand apart from cause. This is how Swamiji presented. So I'll go with that. So earth, vegetation comes from the earth. It is not separate from earth. So this effect called vegetation is not separate from the cause, Prithvi. It's cause earth. Then the compatibility is questioned, that cause and effect needs to be compatible. A Chetan Vastu cannot give rise to Jad, something Jad, and vice versa. So again, an exception is given that no, we find from a live person, we find a dead thing like a hair or nails coming about. So it is not a rule that this is always so. And so also, the purpose, the tatparya of this is to explain how Brahman is the cause of creation, how one appears as many, how one can be the cause of everything. That is the only purpose of this mantra. So our fixed ideas of cause and effect are examined so that we can give it up. So we actually have to do this. We actually have to recognize that where in life are we making this mistake? Where in life are we not able to break up our notions? And we have to closely follow the Shruti and not just gloss over, and try to identify each of our notion and try to break it through the tarka, through the reasoning and through the mechanism how Shruti is uh, you know doing it for us. So try to recognize what the Shruti is doing. Shruti is trying to break our notions, and so also we can extend that kind of reasoning in other parts of our life to break other notions. Then only we'll be close to the reality. So then Shruti starts talking about Paravidya in the Dvitiya Khanda, about the relative truth. Why does Shruti care for that? As I said, that until we see that relative reality or relative truth as absolute, until we continue to see it as the only truth, our mind will not be focused towards the absolute truth. So we continue to sincerely act upon it until then by doing karma yoga as stipulated by the Vedas, as stipulated by, do your nitya naimittik karma with with full shraddha. So we continue to implement karma yoga. We can continue to do that until we are able to gain that vairagya or relative vairagya towards thing, and until we are able to, stand apart and look at the truth as it is. So for us, how should we understand? For us, we have to do both the Shravanam and the Karma Yoga. It is not that one after the other sequentially this is going to happen. We have to do both the Karma Yoga, and we also have to continue on our Shravanam. This Shravana will complement our Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga will complement our Shravanam. So that's how we will look at it. But basically, we have to live our life intelligently. That's what it amounts to. And we have to understand the desire behind all desire is a different kind of desire. Uh, but there is more to life than just living a dharmic life. That also we have to understand. Karma Yoga is all about bringing dharma, etc., in our life. But more than dharma, it is bringing Ishvara in our life. It is Ishvara Buddhi. It is that Ishvara Buddhi which will transform our personality. So then, uh, uh, so this eighth mantra, avidyayam antare vartamanaha swayam dhiraha panditamanyamanaha. It amounts to saying that even when one continues to live a life of dharma, one doesn't recognize that there is something more to it. So, this I already mentioned that we have to live our life intelligently, continue to bring in dharma, etc., continue to devote ourselves to Ishvara, but recognize that there is a reality more than what I see right now. And only then, otherwise we would be also like that avidyayam antare. What does that mean? Aviveki. We would be living a life like a aviveki, that this is it. Life is just this much, and we just eat, drink, and be merry, and then that's it. We lose the best opportunity given to us. That is why it is called aviveki, because we are being given a huge opportunity, and not taking that opportunity, we only will be at loss. And then the 12th mantra, Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedamaya nastya krutah krutena tadvijnanartham sagurumeva vigachet samit pane shrotriyam brahmanishtam. So the one of the main mantras of this Upanishad, that having examined all our experience, one should be able to recognize that what I am after, the desire behind all my desire, is to gain that limitless happiness, and that is not possible by the way I have been doing so far. By it is not possible by karma. It is not possible by a limited effort. I am after gaining something limitless. Uh, the happiness that I'm after, the shanti that I'm after is Shashvata Shanti, limitless happiness, not limited by time, space, or vastu, an object. And that cannot be gained in time. That cannot be gained by some effort, because any effort is in time, and so it is limited. And so, by limited effort, limitless cannot be gained. So even if you do a summation of limited things, uh, it cannot give rise to infinity. It cannot give rise to limitless. So by this nyaya, by this logic, by this reasoning, a dispassion should be created in us. That recognition, that viveka should happen, that yes, what I am after is that limitless. It should be a firm conviction in my life, in my mind, that I should observe all that has gone and all that is happening in my life, and should be able to determine that yes, this is actually true, that what I am after is this limitless happiness, and that indeed cannot be gained the way I am trying to gain right now. And then this passion will become mature enough that then what is okay, this is not how I can gain limitless, then what is the method? How do I gain it? Is it supposed to be gained? No, then I recognize it is something to be known. It is in the realm of knowledge. It is not in the realm of action. Okay, so knowledge. So then what do? I can take a book, Upanishad book, and I can start reading. Says, no, you cannot independently do this. Somebody has to point it out to you. You have to approach to the whole Guru Parampara. You have to approach to a Guru. So you approach a Guru. What kind of Guru? Shrotriya Brahmanishta. One who has received this Sampradaya with from his Guru, from his Guru. Why? So that there is no distortion. There is no subjective thing introduced. It's just coming as it is. That's the that's why it has to come from a parampara. And the beauty of the parampara is there is an addition uh, at every stage. Addition in what context? Not in context of the vastu, but in the context of presentation. That the presentation may change in terms of the era that we are living in. Examples may change. So that's the beauty of coming from a parampara. And Brahmanishta, he should have assimilated, understood and assimilated. It should be a paroksha gnana for this person. Then, only then, when the Guru sees that himself as non-dual, then he can make us see that, see, you are also non-dual. So he himself sees himself as non-dual. He is able to see others as non-dual. He is able to see all of us as non-dual. And then only he can knock off where we are making error. Even when we are seeing ourselves as you know, as even when we are in the realm of duality, he knows where we are making the error, and he can knock it off. So, Sagurumeva Abhigachet, having examined all our experience for their limitations, that they are not capable of giving me that Nitya Vastu, which I am seeking through all desires. This contemplative person, the Brahmana should be interpreted as a Viveki, contemplative person, understanding that he is looking for limitless, and that cannot be gained by limited means, meaning karma. It is not in time. Therefore, he goes to Guru, who is what kind of Guru? Shrotriya Brahmanishta. And how? Samit Panehe. It shows with proper attitude, with great humility, to know that limitless. I have a lot of notes, but we have to summarize, so I'm not going to go over it. So that is Dvitiya Khandaha. Then the Upanishad starts unfolding the absolute truth. Paravidya. Paravidya is started to be unfolded. Okay. Yeah. So the absolute truth is unfolded. The first example given is of a spark and fire. How we see millions of spark coming up from a fire. So is that one fire different from those multitudes of spark? Says no. How the same principle, heat and light, is there in all the sparks and in this big fire. So also the case here. But why do they appear as different? Because we see differences from the standpoint of upadhi. What is upadhi? From the standpoint of that combustible material. So the differences are a viewpoint. The underlying principle is the same, heat and light. So also here, the underlying principle, consciousness, is the same. And Asti Bhati Priya Satchit Anand, that underlying principle is the same. But why the differences? Because we give reality to this body, mind, sense complex because of viewing ourselves from the viewpoint of this body, mind, sense complex. Taking this as myself, I take I as Prachi, I take you as Rachita ji, him as Lalit ji. So all these differences because of taking this upadhi as I. When I don't call this as I, then I am also able to appreciate the others as not limited to that particular embodiment. So the fundamental error that we are committing, that is being pointed out, and how one alone appears as many will be continuously pointed out to us. Um, So this is a Mahavakya Swamiji mentioned that Tadetat Satyam, this is the absolute reality. This is a Mahavakyam. Or this can be looked as a Mahavakyam because it is unfolding that non-duality between Jiva and Brahma. So yes, it's an example of how one appears as many without becoming many. So there is an immutable principle amidst all the change. And that alone, what is that? That is Akshara. Tatha Aksharad Vividaha Somya Bhavaha Prajayante Tatra Chaiva Apiyanti 211. Right? So that Akshara, what is that Akshara? It's the immutable principle upon which all the changes appear. Changes are happening or changes appear. One immutable, changeless alone is appearing as all the changes that we perceive. So again, different ways are presented for contemplating so that my false concepts are knocked out in the process. What are the different ways? So what are the different notions, first of all, that I entertain? I entertain that jivas are many. And so Upanishad gives us example of how we see many sparks, but are there many sparks? It's only one fire. So we see many jiva. Are there many jiva? It's only one principle. It's only one conscious principle. So just because we see something many different doesn't mean that difference is its reality. Then what is the other notion? Ishvara is the cause, jiva is the effect. That is also being knocked off. One fire, one holy fire is the cause, and the sparks are the effect. This is how we want to think. But is there actually a cause effect difference? When we understand fire as fire, when we change our focus from spark to fire, there is no cause, there is no effect. What is there is just fire. So this another concept in our mind that Ishvara is the cause and Jiva is effect, that is also being knocked off by the Upanishad. So this is how we can contemplate. And then the other concept is Ishvara is whole, Jiva is part. That from one big fire, these parts of consciousness, parts of sparks are appearing. So that is also being knocked off. Again, it is just one thing alone. There is no part, there is no whole, because it is dimensionless reality to talk about. What else? Jiva and Ishvara are totally different from each other. This will be knocked out in the Trutiyam Mundaka, the Dvasuparana. So this is how the entire Upanishad is constantly knocking off our notions, false conclusions. But I just thought that I will summarize all that the Upanishad is doing in one statement, so it becomes easy for us. So again, going back to, we don't have a lot of time, so going back to where we were. So after that spark and fire, what does the Upanishad do? In the mantra 4, 214, it starts to describe Ishvara. So there, Swamiji didn't go into all the details, but if we go into the actual Upanishad, after describing how one akshara alone appears as many, Upanishad brings the mantra Divyo Murtaha Purusha Sabhakya Bhakyabhyantarohi Ajaha Apranokya Manaha Shubhraha Hi Aksharat Paraha Paraha. So it talks about, and we will see this in detail when we actually see Mundaka Upanishad Bhashya word to word. But the Upanishad presents this Nirguna Brahma, how this Nirguna Brahma is that one reality. That is what it presents. And then it starts unfolding that from this changeless reality, from this dimensionless reality, which is apranaha, which is not bound by prana, which is not bound by mind, which is always shining, which is aksharat paratah paraha, aksharat being presented as the maya, uh, which is even superior to maya. From that alone, etasmat jayate pranaha manaha sarvendriyani. From that alone, everything is born. So, how the creation has come from one nirguna, changeless reality, one Brahman alone, that is being presented. So, that is not being shown right now because we have only selected certain mantras. But I just wanted you guys to, I just wanted to walk you through that, that is what the Upanishad is doing, that from one changeless reality, from one Nirguna Brahma alone, how the creation comes about. So, is it actually a creation? It is just an appearance, right? Because Brahman cannot become. So, it is a story. It's a adhyaropa that the Upanishad is doing only to do an apavada later. That no, Purusha eva idam sarvam. So, before that, what does Upanishad do? Uh, Fourth mantra, it describes Ishvara. See, this Agni is the head of this cosmic Purusha. The moon and sun are the eyes, etc. So, what is all this? This is the description of Ishvara. So, the elements that we see out, we can look upon it as Ishvara. And what is the prayojana after that? What is the prayojana of the Upanishad behind this mantra? It is so that we can appreciate university in diversity. We can appreciate that oneness even in the diversity that we see. So even at relative level, we should be able to see that oneness, and only then we can shift our focus, and only then we can shift it to that absolute reality. So like Bhagavan does in Bhagavad Gita, in 10th chapter and 11th chapter, the Vishwarupa Darshan, and uh, in the 10th chapter, it I forget the name, how it is called. Um, Lalit Bhai. Anyways,
Vibhuti Yoga, no?
Yes,
Vibhuti
Vibhuti
Yoga?
Yoga. Yes,
Yes,
Vibhuti
Vibhuti.
Yoga is the 10th chapter,
Mhm.
and Vishwarupa Darshan is the 11th. So the Prayojana is how one alone is appearing as many. So also here, the Upanishad is trying to make us tune to that one reality. And then slowly in the 10th mantra, it knocks off all those notions and all that adhyaropa, that Purusha eva. Which Purusha? That Purusha which I mentioned to you as Divyohi Murtaha, the changeless Nirguna Purusha, that alone is appearing as this entire Vishwa. It is only an appearance, it is not a creation. So when will I know Brahman? Swamiji says, when I penetrate the costumes. Uh, Costumes created by what? Purusha eva idam vishwam karma tapo brahma paramritam. Etadyo vedanetam guhayam so avidya granthim vikiratiha somya. When will I know Brahman? When I penetrate the costume. Costumes created by karma and tapas. So what is karma and tapas? By our action. And tapas is thinking. With any action, there is a thinking behind it. So Swamiji mentioned karma and tapa should be interpreted as our action, and the thinking, upasana, etc., our attitudes that go behind it. So when I penetrate the costume, what costume? Costume of names and forms. When I do that, meaning what? When I don't react to those costumes, when I don't react to the names and forms, when I don't react to whatever I'm confronting, whatever differences I'm confronting, uh, and when I do not get distracted, then my avidya, then my avidya will be knocked off. Then I will be able to eliminate my avidya. Then the avidya can be given up. And then this Jivan Mukti has a place in my life. So avidya granthim vikiritiham saumya. By that, Jivan Mukti is being told that yes, Jivan Mukti is possible here and now when we are able to uh, see through the reality by dropping off our attraction towards this names and forms. So that is the Dvitiya Mundaha Prathama Khandaha. One note I had made, Swamiji mentioned that we should, through the fire and spark example, to each of this example, what should we do? We should deliberate on this example of fire and spark and should be able to distinguish as to where there is the distinction between fire and spark. That distinction as to where the division belongs. It is at the level of upadhi. It is at the level of anatma. It is not at the level of atma. That is very important. So, atma anatma vivek is very important. Or satya mithya vivek, but essentially recognize upadhi as upadhi, standpoint as standpoint, as a viewpoint. That is very important. So then we go to the Dvitiya Khandaha of Dvitiya Mundaka. The first mantra is Avihi Sannihitam Guhacharam Nama Mahatpadam Atra Etat Samarpitam Ejat Pranan Nimishacha Yatcha Janatha Sadasat Varenyam Param Vijnanat Yat Varishtam Prajanam. So, okay, let me do this other way. Give me a second. I'm just going to pull it out from the Upanishad. Yes. So, Tvam Padartha Shodhanam is happening in this mantra. So basically in the Dvitiya Khanda, the way it is working is the first mantra which is presented here is doing the Tvam Padartha Shodhanam. The second mantra which is not presented here is doing the Tat Pada Shodhanam. And then we are given this imagery of Pranavaha Dhanu, Pranavaha Omkara meditation. So for Chitta Ekagrata, so that we can or we are able to focus our attention on Vastu. And again, that Tatpada is brought forward in the subsequent mantras until that that mantra is not taken. Yeah, no, this mantra is taken until that seventh mantra. Yas sarvajna sarvavit yasya eva mahima bhuvi divye brahmapurehi esha vyomni atma pratishtitah. That one alone, this akshara brahma, is that sarvajna sarvavit. That alone is found where in this divya brahmapure, in this heart of the jiva. What is obtained is not something different, is nothing other than that akshara brahma. This alone is presented in this second khanda. And how that is sarvagna sarvavid, that is being presented. I am short of my lack of preparation of my notes here. So I have it all handy, but let's see. So, okay, there. So, Avihi of the nature of consciousness. So, basically, it's talking about how uh, one reality itself is giving satta and spurti uh, to all the diverse entities that we are encountering, to all the sentient and insentient that we are encountering. That is what it is trying to uh, mention. I am not going word to word because this is a very subtle this is a very subtle mantra. Avihi sannihitam guhacharam nama mahatpadam etat atra samarpitam. It is guhacharam. It is obtained here in the heart, and it is that in which everything is samarpitam. Because why we say everything is samarpitam? Uh, because all these activities that we find in our body, any seeing, any hearing, anything, all our physiological activities.
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Okay. Are you able to
Yeah,
hear
we couldn't
now?
hear you there for a second. Yes, yes. Now, yeah,
Yeah, this is the
yeah.
headphone problem. Headphone problem. So avihi sannihitam. So it is of the nature of consciousness. It is guhacharam. It is hidden in the heart. It is obtained in the heart, or it can be recognized in the heart, and it is that in which everything is samarpitam. Everything, all our activities are because of which it is that avihi. Uh, so, as I said, it is the so this we should look at as Twampada Shodhanam, because we are saying it is Guhacharam, it is recognized here, and all the activities uh, are Samarpitam. They are, uh, what is the word? All the activities are because of which, because of whose Satta and Spurti, all the activities are because of whom. That is this Avihi. Then the Upanishad wants us to do this Omkara Upasana so that we can make our mind subtle. Omkara is the bow, soul is the arrow. That's how the translation is given. Brahman is the target. Uh, it is to be hit by an unerring man. One should become one with it, just like an arrow. But basically, by japa, Omkara japa, ab Omkara dhyana, we should become one with it. And when we will study Mundakopanisad in detail, this will be emphasized a lot. What does exactly Omkara Upasana means? That Mundaka Upanishad, Akara, Ukara, Makara, that concept will also be brought. That Omkara Upasana is also like uh, focusing how that silence between the two Omkara becomes the basis for us to recognize how one silence is as if the underlying substratum for all the noise that we hear. And so also one changeless is the substratum for all the changes that we encounter in life. So it is for us, for our mind to tune to the reality that this Omkara Upasana Dhyanam is being mentioned. And then the glory of Brahman is being unfolded in Mantra 7. Yes, Sarvagnya Sarvavit, Yasya Esha Mahima Bhuvi, Divye Brahma Pure Hi Esha Vyomni Atma Pratishtita. This Sarvagnya Sarvavit, uh, Where is he recognized? Where is he to be recognized? Divyehi, in this body. It has to be recognized. So again, it shows that Jiva Brahma Aikya, that this Brahma is not to be recognized outside. Outside, it is to be recognized in this very embodiment. That itself shows the identity of the Brahma and Jiva. Sarvagnya, Sarvavid is the words that describes Brahman, and because it has to be recognized here, that shows that it is not something outside me, it is not something other than me. Again, the Upanishad the Bhashya goes, it describes lot in this mantra, but I am not going to go over uh, all that right now. A lot of things are being said about the Mahima, about Ishwar as the order. That that principle is being presented by Bhashyakara in this mantra. How the lightning, how the sun and the moon that move in their orbits without any delay, all that is Mahima of this Ishvara that is being presented in this mantra. And again, we will study this when we study the Bhashya. Then मनोमयः प्राणशरीरनेता प्रतिष्ठोऽन्ये हृदयं सन्निधाय तद्विज्ञानेन परिपश्यन्ति धीराः आनन्दरूपम् अमृतं यद् विभाति. So again, it's a description of Atma in a manner that we can understand. I have written a lot of notes. Why don't I? So, Omkara, going back to the Omkara mantra, I am tempted to read my notes, but we don't have time. So I'll try to do what we can. I'll focus more on this and the next Mundaka, and I'll quickly skip through the last one, which is just the sadhana. That's what we'll do. Okay, so again, coming to I'll just read my notes for the Omkara Upasana. So I've written, may you first meditate with Omkara and identify with Om. And when you meditate, the emotion should also be invoked. This was the emphasis that Swamiji said, that anything you do, the japa, etc., dhyana, it should be with that emotion, and only then that transformation will happen. So meditation is for concentration of mind, and in this case, the mind is Brahman. So this is the Adhyaropa Apavada Prakriya Swamiji mentioned, and we have to let go of what we are not, what you are not. This requires tremendous vairagya with respect to this body, as much as I have vairagya for others' body. To contemplate that I am Brahman, I should be able to have vairagya towards this body, the body's pain, etc. So, but that's the prayojanam of this Omkara Upasana. Then again, as I mentioned, the glory of Brahman or self, because Brahman is not presented different than the self. Brahman is to be recognized here. So, glory of Brahman or self is presented in Yes Sarvagnya Sarvavid, a mantra. Ishvara is omnipotent. That fact is being presented here. He is the one who rules over everything. Why is Ishvara presented this way? Because to rule something or someone, you must know whatever you are ruling. And that aspect is being presented. That Sarvagnya part is being presented by saying that he rules over everybody. Ishwar is omnipotent. That Sarvagnya, Sarvavid, he knows everything. That knowledge part, all Ishvara is all knowledge. That aspect is being emphasized. How does he rule? By the law of karma, by the law of dharma. So law of karma also means law of fairness. So the law of karma phala that we see, all that is part of order, all that is Ishvara, all that is within the knowledge of Ishvara. And I'm skipping this part, but this I think is one of the most important part uh, as it relates to our practical life, understanding Ishvara as all knowledge, understanding Ishvara as order, understanding that law of karma and karma phala as Ishvara, recognizing that this is very important for us to operate in practical life, uh, to be able to look beyond vyavahara, to be able to look beyond what just we perceive in vyavahara. So that is very important. Uh, Eighth mantra say it is the description of Atma in a manner in which we can understand. So when I see a flower, it's not a flower, but that because of which a flower is illumined, the light. So also uh, here the prana, etc. You know, uh, it is that on account of which the prana, mana, etc. They do their activities. That is what I am. That is what I am. This is how the description of Atma is being done. So that in terms of my physiological activities, in terms of Atma as I know myself, I can contemplate upon my reality. Because Brahman I may not know, Ishvara as something else I may not know, but Atma as mind, as this body, that I know. And I can always contemplate upon it that what is this Atma? It is that because of which this prana, etc., this all vital forces are functioning. मनोमयः प्राणशरीरनेता प्रतिष्ठितोऽन्ये हृदयं सन्निधाय तद्विज्ञानेन परिपश्यन्ति धीराः आनन्दरूपम् अमृतं यद् विभाति. I feel we almost need another session on this to be fair on it, but I'm just going to be skipping through this. So after that, uh, the last mantra. It is the description of the Adi Daivik Tattva. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi. So we mentioned the prana, mana, etc. cannot see it, but it is that because of which prana, mana, etc. are also known. Or it is that uh, serving whom this prana, mana, etc. are active. This is also another way of looking at it. So, how to know it? How to know this Atma? So, the Upanishad mantra says, Na tatra surya bhati na chandra tarakam. There, this physical light has no reach. It cannot be seen as an object. It cannot be seen as idam or uh, it. It is a very light on account of which uh, everything comes to light. This is what that na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam amounts to say. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. You shine, and after you, in your light, everything shines after you. So one consciousness, one existence, one awareness is the only reality, and following this, everything appears to be existing, everything appears as if to be shining, but that existence is a borrowed existence and awareness, just as the moon borrows its existence and awareness from sun. It is not its independent existence. So also Na tatra suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam. When the priest does this arti, that is the bhavana that, hey Bhagwan, uh, how am I going to light you? It is you on following whom, following which reality everything this world shines. So I feel I have jumped through. I haven't done a good job here, but I'm still going to continue. And if needed, I will walk this second and third uh, differently. But we'll spend a little bit time here with the Dva Suparna. So Trutiyam Mundakam Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya Samanam Vruksham Parishashva Jate. So again, our notion that in this body there is a Jiva entity and Ishvara entity that is being knocked off. That no, there is only one reality. We have to recognize that in it, the Upanishad doesn't have its tatparya to say that there are actually two birds. The tatparya of the Upanishad is to mention, to make us understand that there is only one bird. It is our attitude that makes us see as two birds. The Jiva and Ishvara are our different attitudes. So what we have to do is shift our attitude, shift our um, understanding from karta buddhi to akarta buddhi, bhokta buddhi to abhokta buddhi. When that cognitive shift happens, then we recognize ourselves from not being a jiva bird, but that Ishvara bird. So it is not that there is actually two birds, one of them is eating, tasting, and one is just, sitting there, not doing anything. It's not two different birds. One consciousness itself is there. Um when I take myself to be ahankara, then I take myself to be as karta bhokta. When I recognize myself to be, I am the truth of that ahankara, I am the truth of this sharira, man, etc. Then I am able to see myself as that one reality, which is neither Jiva, which is neither Ishvara. It is the non duality, which alone appears as two, as the cause and effect. Based on what? From my orientation. When there is only one reality, clay, the clay is neither Karana, neither Karya. It is just clay. So also, it is only one reality. There is no Jiva, Jivatvam, and no Ishvaratvam. So when I say this, Jiva still remains, Ishvara still remains. What gets knocked off is Jivatva Buddhi, and Ishvaratva Buddhi gets knocked off. So because we still continue to live in this realm of uh, uh, Ishvara Srushti. So whatever Ishvara has created, this we will still perceive, and this Jiva, meaning this body, will also continue. But that I am just this much, that I am Prachi of just 5 feet 2 inches. All these notions, that Jivatva Bhava, meaning sense of limitation, gets knocked off, and that Ishvaratva Bhava. What is Ishvaratva Bhava? That Ishvara Brahma is Paroksha, is different from me. That is something to be gained. That I'm not limitless, that I'm not happy. Happiness is to be gained. All this buddhi gets knocked off. Rest, everything remains same. Jiva remains Jiva, Ishvara remains Jiva. Jivatva gets knocked off, Ishvaratva gets knocked off. Right? So that is what we have to understand from this. And then lastly, satyena labhyah tapasa hi eshah atma samyak gnanena brahmacharyena nityam. The means of preparing the mind, uh, the means for knowledge and abiding in that knowledge are being presented. Satya, tapas, brahmacharya. They are the means presented accompanying this fundamental means. What is the fundamental means? Samyak jnana, the right knowledge, the true knowledge, uh, the true understanding about myself. Uh, when can that give result? when it is accompanied by a life followed by a life following satya, tapas, and brahmacharya. Austerity, a life of austerity, a life of truthfulness, and brahmacharya, committed, committed to knowing this truth. Uh, I'm sure Lord is being tapas is austerity, so willing self-denial. Brahmacharya meaning I do not cross my boundary, and yeah, I think that should be enough. So okay, let me read my notes. So what kind of means are this? This is nivrutti pradhanani. Bhashyakara says nivrutti pradhanani. These are the means which requires withdrawal from activities. All of these. It requires some to follow satya. I have to give up. I have to withdraw from asatya. To follow tapas, I have to withdraw from indulgence. To follow brahmacharya, I have to be disciplined. I have to give up my sleep. Uh, Therefore, mind must be totally centered on self. So, with this means, Swamiji presented this that uh, uh, with this means the gnana becomes samyak gnanam of the nature of light, the consciousness that I am. And then the last khanda, uh, काम्य so काम्य काम्यानः काम्यते मन्यमानः स कामभिः जायते तत्र तत्र तत्र. So all our desire has to be analyzed. So the Upanishad wants us to give up the desire. How can desire be given up? Can desire be given up? Desire has to be understood. Only when we understand that desire is not capable of giving me what I'm looking for, then I can see the folly, and then by viveka, this desire can be um, given up. Desire has to go. Um, we can always continue to bring this understanding, and by understanding alone, desire will leave one day. So desire has to be analyzed. How? First, we do employ self-control, and ultimately by self-knowledge. This is the way to become free from desire, bringing that viveka again and again. Then Nayamatma pravachanena labhyah na medhaya na bahuna shrutena. Again, how should I know this self? What is the means of gaining self-knowledge? So the mumukshu has to choose. I have to do varanam, or so there are two interpretation. Either I do the varanam or Bhagavan does the varanam. Either Bhagavan does my varanam, that okay, I'm selecting this person and I'm going to uplift this person, but I want to look at this as I have to do the varanam. I choose Bhagavan, and I have to choose Bhagavan in my life. What does choosing Bhagavan in my life mean? I have to know that because this is the reality, that one Akshara Brahma, one Paramatma alone is appearing as many. I I am doing this varanam of knowing Bhagavan in this way, of knowing Bhagavan as myself. That varanam has to happen from myself, my side, and then all this pravachana, medha, etc., all the other will also become fruitful. Merely by listening, um, without that commitment, life will not help us. That's what it amounts to. That commitment is needed. Without that commitment, Brahma Gnana is not possible. Uh, so Mumukshu has to choose what? Aham Brahmasmi. Hey Bhagavan, I want to know you. How? I want to know you as the very self, as myself. I want to know you as myself. This is the varanam that has to happen. And eighth mantra, यदा नद्यः स्यन्दमानाः समुद्रे अस्तं गच्छन्ति नामरूपे विहाय तथा विद्वान नाम रूपात् विमुक्तः परात् परम purusham upaiti divyam. Just as when the river merges with the ocean, all the differences, all the identifications are given up. So also when this wise identifies himself as Brahman, when I identify myself as that one reality, and become free from this notion of I am Jiva and there is an Ishvara other than me, then I am Jivan Mukta. I become free from all the sorrow, from all the fear, and attain that limitless happiness. The one thing knowing which everything as well becomes known, that proposition, then I attain. My life becomes fulfilled. I become Jivan Mukta. Not only that, after that, when uh, when the body is dropped, then the Videha Mukti is also attained. That is what is being said in that mantra. And lastly, uh, the one who knows Brahma Sayoha Vai Tat Paramam Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati. So the one who knows Brahma becomes, the knower of Brahma becomes Brahma, meaning he recognizes himself as Brahma. And then the rest is just arthavada. It's a praise that in his family nobody remains a brahmavid. That is just for praising. But basically what we have to understand is knower of Brahma becomes Brahma. uh, he recognizes himself Brahma, meaning what? He tarati shokam. He for once and for all he becomes free from all source of unhappiness, and he becomes pratishtitam in the limitless happiness. This is the prayojanam tatparya, and this is how the proposition, one thing knowing which everything becomes known, knowing myself as non-dual, I become comfortable with everything. Why? Because I see everything as just one. So there is no other thing. So there is no reason for being me uncomfortable. Just as I'm never being uncomfortable with this body when I operate with this body, when this left hand or right hand is never uncomfortable with left hand, even though left hand is different from right hand, because it sees the oneness. And so also when I see that non-duality in and through every duality that I perceive, there is no question of uh, being uncomfortable with anything, being fearful of anything, having any raga or dvesh towards anything. This is the tatparya of this shruti. And with that, we complete this Mundakopanishad. I was not little bit happy with that Dvitiya Khanda Avihi. So what I'll do is I'll just come up with a short summary and do a little recording and send in our group. Rest all was fine. But essentially, what this Mundaka Upanishad does, as I mentioned, is through this Adhyaropa Apavada Prakriya, through making us recognize Satya Mithya, what is Satya, what is Mithya, uh, gives us different examples to contemplate on how what is Mithya, what is Satya, how one reality alone is appearing as many, where are we making mistake. So we can contemplate in this way in different ways and come to our reality. So thank you everyone for following this, and your next Upanishad is going to be Ishavasya Upanishad, which you will start from next Thursday. It was also one of the Anaikati retreats, and so you will be fortunate to see a video recording and not just an audio recording. So I will do the prayers first, and I am just going to request you to hang on for 1 minute. After that, I'm going to stop the recording. Let's finish the prayers first. Om Purnamada पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ
Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om everybody. Hari Om to all.